Hi. How are you?
Oh, hey. Thanks for stopping by today.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to the neighborhood. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you for joining the Wild West podcast tonight on this glorious Wednesday evening. My name is Richie Rajay of the MHRT Network. Over that away, you can find the real Alex Gibbons of Arrowhead Addict. Check out his articles online as well as his... Do you have a channel yet?
No.
It's in progress. Work in progress.
All right. So eventually, he's going to have a YouTube channel. Hasn't quite figured out how to click the create button, and then once he figures out how to do that,
I'm trying to secure viewers. I'm trying to buy a guy's subscription base.
Right. Okay. So he's
buying his IP.
Yeah. Anyways, at some point in time, Alex will in fact have his own YouTube channel where he will have some additional Chiefs content for y'all as well. And also, you can find his and Coach's fantasy draft show, which comes in directly after this one, if I'm not mistaken, live on the YouTubes. And directly below me here, the one, the only, the Coach Defense. Staples show Tuesdays with Coach Kurt. I had a blast on the show. It really was. It was great yesterday.
We had a great time yesterday. If you haven't watched it by now, go back and watch the replay. We had a blast last night. We definitely did. Top to bottom.
Yeah, it was great. And Kurt and Coach here bring some great mix of content, which is great. We have a Givens in the chat.
There it is.
Yeah, we do.
There you go. Tell him what the business
Mama
is.
Smug, baby. Mama Smug.
That's it. Tell me what the business is, Mama.
Yeah.
And do you know what, Mrs. Givens? That is probably a good thing. Looking ahead in terms of the things that matters, it's probably a good thing that he's too busy getting ready for the wedding. And that just means that you raised him the right way. So
all facts.
You could say.
Thank you for joining us, nonetheless.
Is that debatable?
If you have any football questions, go ahead and leave them questions down below in the chat. Captain, you okay?
Oh.
Yeah. All right. And we got Captain Jack here of the Captain Jack Rackham Show joining us just on time to go ahead and talk about. I'm giving you some leeway there, so just take it.
Just a little, and yes. I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it.
Just take it. Yeah. And of the Captain Jack Rackham podcast. So, Captain, thank you for joining us today. We're going to delve right into it, guys, here. We're going to go right into a week one recap. All of us actually have podcasts immediately following this here, so we all need to wrap up pretty quick. But we want to get you all of the information as it pertains to the AFC West, all of those details. Captain, with you joining, I thought it'd be a good starting point to talk about the only team that won this week.
Yeah! I was wondering how you were going to
do that.
Yes.
The AFC West.
AFC West leader, baby.
Let's simmer down. I'm not done my intro. Calm down.
Yeah.
Now,
here comes with all due respect.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there's go ahead and I'll finish it. There's a reason. Go ahead.
There is the only team that is 1-0, undefeated within the division, who is now atop the AFC West. We will throw it over to Captain Jack and give his recap and his thoughts on what he saw in the Raiders versus Broncos Week 1 matchup.
Okay, and the reason why I got excited and because it's why wouldn't you get excited when I don't remember the last time the Raiders were in first place, let alone first place by themselves. So I'm sure somebody can look that up. So it's exciting. I mean, again, first place by themselves. I mean, we might have been in first place tied with somebody, but first place by ourselves, you'd have to go way back. I don't know how far. Somebody can look that up. but it's exciting.
That's a rare. I mean,
guess.
I'm not trying to belittle anyone. That's a rare event because you typically have at least 2 of the divisional teams that kind of win normally in week 1, and you end up with kind of a smattering that way. But in this case here, it was a rarity where the Raiders had a divisional game and the other 2 teams lost. So
lost.
Well, now you do need to be careful because there is 16 more games.
Oh, like I said, I'm not predicting. I am not predicting that we're going to go 19-0 or 20-0. Okay, actually, 20-0 would be the perfect season. There's no way in hell that's happening. But give me a little bit of, dew and glee, because first off, I saw when we saw the Smugs lose on Thursday. Okay, I'm sorry.
Is that the holistic name of the team now?
Yeah, that's all of it. Smug Kingdom.
The Smugdom. The Smugdoms. The Smugdom. But yeah, when the Smugs lost, and it was funny because the tie-in was the guy who really screwed that game up for you, other than Patrick was not himself. Thank you. Was Kadarius Toney. The guy that they got from the Giants, who had the audacity to drop some DMs on Twitter when the Giants shite the bit.
He was coping, all right. Everyone's got their mechanisms.
No, he's like he turns off his Twitter when everybody's bagging on him, but then he bags on his ex-team when they get dropped by 40. I'm like, dude, think about what you just did. You are a true a-hole for doing that. You can't take the own heat on your own Twitter, but then you try to dish it to your old team. That's an a-hole. And I said a-hole. I'm trying to keep within PG standard.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. But
yeah. So the Smugs lose, and then while I'm watching our game, Richie, I'm watching, the Garglers take on the Fish
shootout,
and that ends after our game, and so I get a chance to enjoy our victory, which, as we both stated, Rich, was going to be a tight game. Okay, Raiders played well, played a little bit better than the Broncos, and even the Broncos basically lost because of a guy by the name of Lutz, who was the reason why the Saints lost the opener in 2016, because he missed a winning field goal at the very end. So I'm like, hey, apropos, can't get the field goal at the end, and but he doesn't get on the field. I don't remember the last time, and somebody said, I think it was like 2000, the last time the Raiders ran out the clock of over 5 minutes for a win.
Yeah.
Going back at least 20-something years. That's another rarity as well. So very happy with that. Russell Wilson looked a lot better.
Sharif. Eating it up.
Yeah. And again, I can't see. I got to put on the comments. I can't see out here. Now I'll be able to see this stuff. But it's like, it's been a while. So that was cool to see that. Evening to Anna. Good to see you, sweetie. By the way, Anna, I need you to drop a 20 on the Raiders for this weekend.
What?
Because they're giving plus. My buddy's a gambler, and he teaches me how to do this. He said the Raiders are at plus 350 for this weekend. So if you bet 20, you get like 70. Well, you get 60. You get $80 for 20 at plus 350. And again, I don't know how to gamble, but he does. So, Anna, if
that
you
sounds
can,
like a slippery slope.
It's a $20 bet. It's a 20. It's
yeah,
a $20.
but instantly I was like, well, think about what I would get if I put down 2,000.
Yeah, no, I'm not a degenerate gambler. That's why I said 20. I can lose. But Rich, again, great game by the Broncos. But what I am going to get in your ass about. Okay, not you. Well, you're not you personally, but you're the representative of this.
We need that. We need that in a sound clip.
Okay.
No, we don't.
I am going to get in your ass about.
And I will put you in your place.
Where's the
that is gonna be a good drop for later.
We need to put this show on a delay.
Put that up.
Why?
That's the opener
Why?
for Cat's Rants of the Week.
Anyway, the getting your ass about comment is twofold. Okay, and Richie is the one of the nicest guys I know. Great Bronco fan, nice, giving, but he's from Canada. Okay, which explains why he's not the normal dicks that were there at the stadium in pile high that were, again, the phallic erupting penises that a lot of the Bronco fans were to my buddy Hollywood and his wife. Okay, Richie is not like that, but there will be a lot of a-holes, and I'm just going to leave it at that. When your missus gets punched, that's a problem by a Bronco fan who was drunk. So I'm very upset at that. And then to make matters worse, as far as on the field, I think that Sean Payton must have told his boy Van Joseph, right? The defense coordinator.
Great week of practice.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He must have said, hey, we had this little thing in Nolens called Headgate or whatever the hell it was, where we would bounty gate. There you go. Yeah. Where guys would get paid bounties. Richie, I'm telling you, I have never in a bit seen as much headhunting than I did that day. Yeah, but at least the officials called it. You know, the hit on Garoppolo, and then
that guy just made a paper mache, dude.
Yeah, that was not a penalty.
The hit on Garoppolo was even but it was the crown of the helmet type of crap that we're talking.
No, it wasn't.
And then you have whoever the hell, I think it was Jackson, who knocks out Jacoby Myers, guys on concussion protocol, the player of the game at the very end. At least there were flags. So I was a little upset, Richie. I was a little upset at that.
So I have one comment. I have several comments actually on that.
Well, I know Biggie. Hey, Biggie, by the way, that's for you, brother.
Right. So I'm going to literally just take those on head on as they were spoken. One, first off, no one should get punched in the face by any fan. I actually the funny thing is, so my first Bronco game, I went there, and one of the cheerleaders, I think, down in the stands rather liked me, even though I was with my then wife. So I'm sure that went well. And so I got thrown one of those little mini balls, but she threw it too high with the little shotgun thing. And so anyways, I grabbed a ball and ripped a dude from 2 seats back from me all the way down because I wanted the mini ball, and I won. So that was one. And then he tried to like stand up and fight me, and then I stood up, and then he just backed away. No one deserves to get hit at a game, especially not a woman at a game. I have serious issues with that. And I'm not going to lie. If I saw another dude turn around and hit another woman at a game, I'd probably knock him out. And I'd be the guy wearing a Broncos jersey and shirt doing that to another dude in a Broncos jersey. There is no place for that at a game. And really the worst that can happen to me there is they deport me to Canada, and so be it. So there's that. But that being said, all that aside, let's talk the Jimmy Garoppolo hit. I have retweeted a full GIF and a video of that hit end to end, like as in straight all the way through, no editing.
Okay.
I can promise you your answer to what you just said and your comments to what you just said right now will drastically change when you actually see the play.
Okay. Now, and the reason why I say that is because I was not there live, and because I don't have the Sunday ticket this year, I actually had to go somewhere. Yeah. So my view was what was there.
Yeah, and so I can appreciate that if your view was the tape that was on broadcast, you are going to have kind of
You can just pull it up. Can you share your screen?
Yeah,
Just play the clip.
play the clip. So I may later on, but right now I will tell you right now, the shoulder is the only part of Simmons that hit Garoppolo.
Okay.
And it wasn't even as his head
He
was
hit his
going
ass.
down.
He got in his ass.
Yeah. Let's just put it that way. That's the way it was. And it was basically, to be quite honest, Captain, it was actually an absolute BS call.
Okay.
But yeah.
I am willing to say, and you got witnesses here.
Yeah.
I only had the one view of it. Okay. So in that respect, but the hit that Myers is on concussion with, I'm surprised that there wasn't a suspension and immediate ejection for that one, because that one I saw again and again and again. And when your guy is on the field and he's the reason why you're winning the game with 2 touchdowns and just eating everybody for lunch, that pissed me off. So again, I will defer on the first one, but the second one makes up for it probably threefold. And they did throw a flag, but guys should have been ejected, and he should get a fine from the league. Okay, I think that's Jackson is the gentleman's name.
Yeah, he might have.
It was Simmons actually. Oh, you mean the guy that hit
No,
Myers?
Yeah, the guy who Myers.
Oh,
Yeah, Myers. Yeah, that was horrendous. I was pissed. But again,
So
that aside, great game, because I want to talk about the wrong one. I want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
the Garglers.
But let me go on the Broncos side of that.
Yes, sir.
What we saw from that game was largely an overwhelming of the offensive line on the edges, primarily. I do think
Crosby
that
was balling.
Yeah, I do think that.
And he was held so much, and they only had one penalty called for holding Crosby.
He was held on occasion, and on the times that I heard, yes, on occasion, and I heard actually, and to be quite honest, you know where the more egregious holding was on the interior of your defensive line. So, look, if I'm willing to call stuff out, I'm willing to call stuff out.
Okay,
but that's where it was. We had Ben Powers with a fistful of jersey up in the air, and that never got called, and that was not great. But at the end of the day, I think what a lot of Raiders fans were not factoring in was the simple fact that Crosby got blocked secondarily on a lot of his rushes, and a lot of the Raiders fans wanted those to be called as holds, but they weren't. They were just secondary blocks. Coach, is that the clip we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay,
let's throw that up. Let's show the audience that clip. I think it's great.
Let's hit the film room. Let's get under the cover here.
Yeah, let's get right under the sheets. So here's the play. That's what you're going to see on your game film, right? Where it looks like he kind of clipped him, right?
Yeah.
Now,
that's what I saw.
Right. Wait for the replay on it where you get the other angle. Watch. So he's a runner now. He's no longer a quarterback.
That's true.
Didn't even hit him in the head. Watch.
No. Okay. But still, what is he using
his
on
shoulder?
I see a bunch of crown, baby. He's going in with his head down.
Watch. He's going to get his shoulder down.
But the crown is contacting the ribs.
No, it's not. It's over his head. He's not even hitting him. Watch here.
Okay, I see a bunch of crown.
Watch, bang. Didn't even hit him.
It gives a more close up view right here. More close up view. No.
What? Now, why is his head down though?
Look right there. Look at the snap. Look at the
snap. To the ground.
Look at the snapshot right there. He didn't hit his head. Hit his shoulder.
Yeah, no, but he's leading with the head though. He's
No, he's not.
leading
He's
with
leading with his shoulder.
Watch the very end of the clip. Watch the very end of the clip.
At some point, you either like watching
Flag on
football
him.
or you want to see a bunch of like girls running around in dresses on a field.
Well, I don't mind that either, as long as they put out. But
Jesus.
No, but the point is here is that this is a football game. We are watching a contact sport. And
Look at that right there. That shot right there.
I see
That shot right
that
there.
shot. But I also saw
forearm to the shoulder pad. Forearm to the shoulder pad.
In real time, though, you see
Here's
him
what we're
going,
not talking about.
What?
Let's not forget about the cheap elbow smash to the neck.
Well,
that wasn't but guys, what you're all missing is what Garoppolo was whining about was, I don't know, if you look at where Simmons's like leg and knee is, as his head is going to the ground, the leg knocks his helmet, and that's where he was like.
Honestly, though, I think that would hurt worse for Simmons and Jimmy G.
It would.
This is like the first drive too, and he went down. I was like, "Damn, he's already hurt."
Right.
Yeah, like this.
At least he got past 4 plays. But I digress.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Honestly,
Wow.
As bad as OJ saying 9/11 just a bad day for New York.
Jesus. It was just. Ugh.
Where we go?
Listen, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know where we're going. I don't.
Anyway, like
back.
this. Great game, great win. And again, now the way that we're doing this, okay, now I got to change. Okay, he's over. Okay, this guy. I was under the impression, because I heard somebody on this show, and I can't remember his name. Can't remember his name. Was talking about, we got old boy. We got old boy. And it makes me, old boy being somebody by the name of Tyreek that escaped the clutches of smugdom. We got old boy. I tell you, every time I looked, he was schooling whoever was back there with you there, coach. And I was just saying, I mean, it gives me pause because we got to play those bastards, but at least we're playing them in Miami at the end of the year where maybe somebody by that time might be injured, okay, including their quarterback.
And you're wishing that on them. Okay.
No, I'm just saying. It's like I don't. No, wait a second. Well, no. I didn't say I wish an
You didn't
injury.
directly say it. But
No, I
That's
would.
what he's implying, though.
No. I didn't insinuate crapola. I said maybe by that time that there are guys injured because we are talking about the Garglers injuries. I mean, they actually have a full staff for the first time in God knows how long. But we're also talking about the Dolphins who have had a bad case of injury-itis for a while as well. So I can only say, not that I would ever wish injury on anybody, because that's true. Because you're talking about health of a person and his livelihood. Okay, I would never wish that upon it. But I'm not going to bitch, moan, and groan if some of the better players are not there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to bitch, moan, and groan to that. But again, Tyreek Hill schooled whoever it was, and Tua played remarkably. So again, it's nice, and I'm going to shut up after this. It's nice being 1-0. But the flip side is that we get a very pissed off Buffalo team this weekend that didn't play well against the Greenberg Greens. Okay, Mike Greenberg of BSPN. They're not the Jets; they're the Greenberg Greens. And we'll have to deal with that in wherever the hell that little town is outside of Buffalo, because that's where they actually play. Orchard Park. There you go. I like that. But I'm done now. And like I said, no hat, because like I said, I wanted to show off Miss Celia's work. She makes this old dude look like somewhat dashing and debonair. So the only thing that's messing with it is the cans. And speaking about cans, never mind. Anyway, is a big shout out to my beautiful, wonderful stylist, Miss Cece, who makes this pirate look decent.
I would just like to point out that most of Cap's Raiders analysis involved jabbing everyone else's team. Yes.
Yeah, because when I
do it, when I do it, I'm smug as hell.
Yeah, well,
I just said
it's with all due respect, sir, FO.
Oh my God.
Here we go.
But
Right.
with all due respect, but the thing is that I jab it. I said, hey, Russell Wilson looked great in the first half. He took the Raiders.
You never said that. You never said
Yeah,
that.
you did.
You
Yes,
didn't.
I
Russell Wilson.
Yes,
I
I
mentioned
did.
it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Maybe you did. It was overshadowed by the complaining. I'm sorry, it's overshadowed by the complaining. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you might want to.
I kind of blacked out when you
here.
said, "I'm going to get in your ass." So
Yeah,
I know. Right. I think that's where I'm at. Like,
Yeah. Well,
about a pause-worthy comments. I'm just.
You were so shocked. You were so shocked by that you must have missed the last.
I did.
2 minutes after that.
It was so much negativity in that, in wow moments. I just missed that part altogether. I totally missed it. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I did. I gave props where props were due. The Broncos looked, particularly in the first half, looked really, really good. And kudos to Patrick Graham for doing whatever he did at halftime, because the defense played a hell of a lot better the second half. They made stops when they needed to. They made it like a 3-and-out when they needed to, which caused the Broncos to kick a field goal. And I think that was when it was 16-10. Instead of putting it out of reach at 20-10. They kicked the field goal, making it 16-10, and so it was like. And then they even stopped them after that. When we got our chance to win, like I said, extra 5 minutes of rolling the clock. And by the way, kudos to Clayton for coming on my show. I appreciate everybody that actually shows up and comes on my show wearing his Broncos gear. I love that. Show your colors, man, because when you're on my show, you're talking about your team with the old bastard. So we're going to have a ball doing it.
No, I think that's great. And so a couple other things real quick on the Broncos game. Broncos got torched with Mathis got absolutely torched by Myers. That was not good.
Roasted.
Yeah, just got roasted. The other thing that will be interesting, and Captain, I have a genuine question. It'll be very interesting to see how you guys do in your matchup this week, and that is your offensive line, particularly on the I just say everywhere, both interior and tackles. I couldn't figure out if your offensive line is actually quite good, or if the Broncos pass rush and defensive line was just not.
I think it's kind of. I think you cut it right down the middle on that. We were decent when we needed to be against the line, your line that didn't show a lot. But the Raiders' offensive line this week is going to be going up against a humongous, motivated, and dynamic defense. At least the defensive front seven of the Bills. So they're
legit. Yeah. And so my whole point is that my point is that if the Bills basically run through your offensive line, then I'm actually even more concerned, because what that means is that our defensive line is either not good or doesn't show up, or has games where they're not showing up. Now, what I will say that our defense did very well in that game was we stopped the run pretty well.
Yes.
We really did. We had there was a few plays where Justin Simmons, again, and this is why I'm defending him on that play, because the type of tackle that he made on that play that you claimed that he led with his crown, he made the same attempt to tackle Jacobs doing in the run game, and Jacobs made him look silly.
Jacobs only had actually didn't even have 40. He had 39 yards. He didn't even have 40 yards.
So we really kept your run game in check, but there was an early run play where Simmons made the same type of tackle where he didn't use his arms to wrap him up, and he didn't actually leverage like the inside of your shoulder and that kind of stuff to like stop the guy. He kind of did this like, skinny shoulder check thing that where he's trying to tackle the guy, and of course Jacobs looked at that and kind of like did like a little bend around and kind of ran for an extra 5 yards just because Simmons didn't actually tackle him. So I know the type of tackle that Simmons was attempting on Garoppolo because it failed earlier in the game against Jacobs, but the big D lineman stepped up in that game. They prevented the rushing attack from really being effective, but sadly our defensive backs could not hold up and keep you guys at bay. Coach, flipping over to your Dolphins and to hear your feedback on it.
1 second before you go there, I wonder how much of that preparation went to Stidham just feeding you guys all week, because the way that you stopped a lot of those runs was looked like you had a lot of good knowledge of what McDaniels was running. So it definitely helped. It definitely helped.
Yes and no, but at the same time, you have a lot of tape on Myers, and you can kind of get how he runs his routes and stuff like that. That was by and large.
Not to mention in a McDaniel system.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the information at your disposal to kind of see how it works. The cheat codes are present and available. It's whether or not you choose to use them or not. And Mathis just hit the delete key and then just got exposed. But I'm sorry, it's just the way it worked. But over to the Dolphins game, Coach, and I really want to hear your feedback and kind of your take on it. You guys were pretty much right in it, and it was just a back and forth. You said it yesterday, and I'm going to lead you right into it. The difference, in my opinion, in that game was Fangio had his defensive guys make the play when they needed to, and your defensive coordinator, as in your head coach, obviously has not picked up all of the information from one of his mentors in Vic Fangio, and kind of fell short a little bit in terms of bringing the defense out to play. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I had a spirited rant about this yesterday because Coach Kirk kind of baited me into it. But because I was going to save it all for today, but I'm gonna try to keep the same energy I had yesterday for today. In all honesty, I feel like it's a lot at play here, and it's all bad. With Brandon Staley's mindset going into this game, completely shocked me. It completely shocked me. Now, from one side of the ball, one side of the coin, I did say that I did feel like Kellen Moore's going to emphasize the run, and that's what they did. I haven't seen a rushing attack like that since LaDainian Tomlinson. I have not in the Schottenheimer days. So that part I was right on. Now, what shocked me and completely, utterly befuddled me is Brandon Staley's game plan going into this game. Like, I don't think you have to be a genius to know, and I'm talking about just a football savant, defensive savant, to know if you got two guys that run sub 4-3 at wide receiver, you don't play a lot of single man coverage on them. I don't give a damn who you got a corner.
Yeah,
I don't give a damn who you got a corner. That's mistake number one. Mistake number two is largely in the first half sticking a guy who's fresh off patella tendon surgery on the fastest guy on the field. That's mistake two. Now, I will give Mike McDaniels a lot of credit. In his play calling early in the game, I went back and looked at a few different clips and a few different cut-ups about the first half. And what he did was, this was very slick. I actually watched a video on this on his offense last year before Tua got hurt. Is that he has a unique ability with those two fast receivers on the outside to call a lot of 21 and 12 personnel. He'll have two tight ends on the field, two running backs, but he still have Tyreek and Jalen on the field, right? So what he'll end up doing is he'll try to force you into your base coverage and your base packages, which takes the cornerback off the field, right? And ultimately, he'll go twins. Yeah. He'll bunch it with a tight end, and he'll get favorable matchups with his receivers. So I give him credit for that. But the brass tacks of what the problem is that you didn't take any notes or any, I guess you can say, film watching or anything that you did positive against them last year going into this year. because you faced the exact same offense from last year to this year. Like, it didn't change drastically. And everybody knows it's a well-known fact at this point in time, based upon his ability and his arm strength, that Tua loves the middle of the field.
Yeah.
He's a highly accurate quarterback, but he's not an elite, talented arm strength quarterback, right? So what you should have done, if nothing else, even if Mike McDaniels was prepared for and had a nuance or wrinkle that was going to counter your ability to take away the middle of the field, take it away first. Don't leave the middle of the field wide open. Like, it was a free for all in the middle of the field the whole game. Like, it was at no point did he adjust to packing in bodies in the middle of the field and make him throw outside the numbers. That was the biggest and most glaring issue to me. The amount of single man coverage you played against these fast receivers. No coverage, no bracket, and no identifying Tyreek on every play. Like, Tyreek is a nuclear weapon. Whether he's with the Chiefs or the Dolphins, he's a nuclear weapon. I've said that. I've said this several times. You at no point do you not account for a Tyreek Hill, a Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. You got to know where these guys at all particular points in time. In the second snap of the game, he had Khalil Mack checking him in the slot. Like what?
Yeah, what?
Like, why is Khalil Mack in coverage at all? Like, this is, and I knew we were in trouble then, because I was like, why is Khalil Mack? Because you can see Khalil Mack step out away from the edge and point at Tyreek Hill like somebody needs to guard him. I'm supposed to be rushing. And his awareness told him that I was dropping coverage instead of rushing, because he knew that the area was vacant, but he can't keep up with Tyreek Hill. Who can? So you got a 16-yard gain off that from the very first play. The second play was another play, a direct pass over the middle where Jalen Waddle just torched J.C. Jackson and got a 30, 40-yard gain. So yet again, why don't you go with what worked until they make you change? Instead of going to something completely, utterly different when they beat that all to hell in previous games. They've had their best games when teams reluctantly don't take away the middle of the field. If a guy can't throw with a high, deep accuracy and arm strength to the boundaries of the field, you make him do those throws. You make him have to make those throws and those catches. If you don't, he's gonna have a field day, and that's exactly what happened. The amount of lack of accountability for Tyreek Hill and the amount of coverages blown that they had on each receiver, period, mainly Tyreek Hill, was the biggest and most glaring issue of the game. You know, they want to harp on the fact that they stopped the run, but they didn't even run the ball a lot. They ran the ball about 18 times in the entire game. We ran the ball 36 times. So
and we're hurt and we're RB. So
yeah,
right. So again, why wouldn't you change? Now he tried to make some type of nuanced changes towards the end of the game. He put Jaseel Taylor in the game a couple of times and things of that nature. But yet again, Jaseel runs a 4-3, yes. But guess what? You single covered him against Tyreek Hill and expect him to win. It's not happening. It's not happening.
No,
it's not happening.
Coach, you had a couple things there, and I think that it would be beneficial, just due to your expertise, to kind of expand on it. We have mentioned a few times on the show, and it has dawned on me that for those that aren't necessarily doing this as regularly as we are, and for those that aren't specialists in the defensive and offensive sides of the ball, we have delved into a little bit of talking about coverages. So 12 personnel, 22 personnel, 13 personnel. My favorite is 12 personnel and 13 personnel, just because I'm a huge tight end. Like, the tight end offense is kind of my jam. So Sean Payton and I are in lockstep when it comes to that sort of thing. But on the defensive side, you were talking about base defense, and we have brought that up a couple times on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Perhaps just for the sake of the audience here, what would that look like?
Well, a base defense depending on what defense you're running. If you're running the 34 like we run, that means you have a nose tackle, 2 defensive ends, 2 edge rushers. It means you have 5 in the box on the defensive line, 2 inside linebackers, 2 corners, and 2 safeties. That's your base package. Right. That's what you typically line up against traditional 21 and 12 and 13 personnel when you have a heavy type run package on the field. If it's a 43, you have 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 corners, and 2 safeties. Yeah. And when you get into the nickel aspect of, you take a linebacker off the field in favor of a cornerback. If it's dime, you take 2 linebackers off the field and in favor of the 2 extra defensive backs. But that's your base personnel across the board. So again, in base packages, we had 3 down linemen, 2 edges, Bosa and Mack, and we had 2 inside linebackers, Kendrick and Murray. We had 2 base corners in and Michael Davis and J.C. Jackson, and we had 2 safeties, Alohi Gilman and Derwin James. That was our base package.
Right. So basically, for when you're thinking about what that looks like, is that you end up with at least one slower guy,
right?
Or
Absolutely.
clearly slower guy on the field,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, this is why the inside linebacker position in the NFL has either declined in terms of like what people see as it being valuable. So like think of your Urlachers and your Ray Lewises.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys aren't as coveted as they once were in the former NFL. But this is also why you get guys that are coverage inside backers that run sideline to sideline super fast that are coveted in today's NFL because
a guy by the name of Fred Warner is great at that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you got the
that's why you see a lot of these middle linebackers that run like 4.4s too.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like,
in a lot of cases, they put on a lot about 10 or 12 pounds, and they were safeties in college, and now they're linebackers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you look at the dude from Chicago, for example. I keep forgetting his name. Is
Edmonds.
TJ Edmonds or TJ Edwards? Which one?
No, the other guy.
Edmonds.
When Fangio was there.
Oh, you talking about Roquan?
Roquan, yes,
Roquan.
Yeah. Roquan. So Roquan is a great example of exactly what you just said, Coach.
Yeah, he's on the Ravens.
He's on the Ravens now, right?
Yeah, he was a hybrid between a safety and an inside backer in college, and then he came over to the Bears, and Fangio says yes. Right. Great example of that. Exactly what you just said. So,
and that you're seeing that a lot. Like I said, the Raiders have that with Divine Diablo. They were trying to do the same thing with Tanner Muse before he flamed out, and I think Tanner's on he was on one of y'all's teams, I think.
We have Tanner Muse now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
We picked him up in free agency. I mean, waiver wire when he cut him.
Waiver, right? And he's a former safety that bulks up a little bit as like the tweener linebacker safety. Not so bulky that he loses a lot of the speed, but he knows how to freaking cover.
Yeah, he ran a 4.40 combine. He hovers around about 228 pounds. I looked it up. Yeah, about 228 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, you see like those like Mark Barron or Shaq Thompson or guys.
Yeah, they started it. They started that trend. They started that trend.
But you also see teams like the Chiefs. I think last year only carried three or four linebackers. So you see teams kind of devaluing that.
Drew Tranquil was a safety in Notre Dame. He converted to linebacker when he got to the Chargers. So yeah, there you go right there. Now I actually miss him now at the point at which you want Kenneth Murray for Drew Tranquil, we can trade.
Nah.
Thought I asked.
Tranquil's good, man.
Yeah. But Coach, I just thought it was important to kind of break down. When you say base defense, I think a lot of announcers just kind of like rhyme off the terms and they never explain it to anyone watching the game. And again, unless you played football regularly in like college or high school, you're not going to know.
That's actually a good point because I get an enormous amount of questions in my DMs about that. Like they ask me specific things about what I meant about X, Y, and Z, and I break it down when the people hit me up personally. But yeah, that's definitely a good teaching point to tell you exactly what it means to be in base versus sub and things of that nature, and what those terminologies mean. Because again, I mean, being an indoctrinated football person, being a player and a coach, I know it like the back of my hand. But yet again, everybody isn't me, right? So yeah, definitely a good idea to break it down in certain regarts. But I do want to make one final point about our defense because I mean I don't really have a whole lot of qualms with our offense. I mean, hell, you put up 34 points for the winning game. I mean that's just point blank period.
Yeah.
But what I did have an issue with as well is the pass rush. Like I mean, we got $60 million invested in edge rushers. More so if you add the backups in Thule, this has been a second round pick. We got over $60 million invested in pass rushers. We couldn't get a damn pass rusher to save our life. Like it was bad, and they had backup linemen in the game. Like Armstead didn't play, and they had a guy they just picked up off waiver wire, Isaiah Wynn, who's playing guard. So their left side of the line should have been barbecue chicken. But guess what? It was not. And the only time we got pressure, freaking Bosa held to his face mask and got a penalty. So it wasn't even a real live pass rush. So we didn't get to the quarterback at all.
I was gonna say, don't use the barbecue chicken analogy because every time you use that, you get burned.
fall off the bone.
Yeah, because you used it against us. Now's the game that we want. And if you used it last week, then it didn't turn out so well. So drop the analogy or use it every time you play us. It'll be good.
Sure.
I
Also, one more thing. I do want to refute one of your comments. I was referring to Tua when I was talking about the Dolphins last week. I said nothing about Tyreek Hill. I was talking about us having Tua corralled because the debate has always been Tua versus Herbert. We know what Tyreek Hill is. I've said it many times on the show. We know what he is. I was
Tyreek's going to get his.
Tyreek's going to be him. I was referring to Tua's ability to be productive in that game, not Tyreek. Just to be clear on what I said last week.
Yeah, and you brought up an interesting point. So the Broncos have had the same or similar problem to what you guys had, Coach, in your game against the Dolphins. We have Clark that we brought in, who is not nearly at the same dollar level in terms of salary as what you're paying Mac or Bosa. But we have Gregory, who is certainly within that, ballpark in terms of salary. And between the two of them, we got very little production. We had Jonathan Cooper, who did well against the run, but did not really get to the passer. And then our vested second-round pick, who's now in his second year with our team, and Benito, didn't really make it there either. And so, we just had kind of, snake eyes across the board, not so dissimilar to what you guys had. And at some point, you got to start saying, all right, where are we going wrong? And I'm curious if you landed on the same thing. My issue is our interior.
Well, you know what? And I was actually disappointed in the line in its entirety for us because I was saying that, you get people kind of get stuck from a play calling perspective and just let them rush for and get there, right? But I'm like, okay, if you're not getting there with just a 4 base rush, stunt, overload, do something different. And they were doing all of that as I look back on the film, and they just were not getting there. I saw them stun inside a few times, stun outside a few times, and we never got anywhere. So I definitely believe that it wasn't a lack of trying to get to the quarterback. We just couldn't get it done.
I heard a kid.
I did too. I don't know where it came from.
That wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Mine's upstairs, 2 levels up. So she's definitely not down here.
It was a stray sound from a Raider chick with huge knockers, and I thought it was on mute, so apologies.
Oh, we know. See, I knew it was you.
So it's Captain looking at Raiders only fans. I get it. Okay.
There you go.
All right. There
we go. That'll truth
You're
out.
gonna go there.
Oh.
See, now you know, so shut up, okay?
Well, there's a time and a place for that. But Alex, over to your Lions loss.
Yeah,
that was the game we thought it could have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really was.
Especially...
I mean, we talked about it on last show, and it had the legit potential of ending exactly the way it did, because the Lions are, in my opinion, one of the better or best coach teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely. Campbell's absolutely changed the culture in Denver. And I mean, definitely a good team. And I mean, it's going to be a viable contender to win the NFC North and maybe go deep in the playoffs. But Travis Kelce missing obviously was a huge factor, which I have absolutely acknowledged. It's I guess was a little disheartening that it was a bit more of a factor than you would hope.
But your tight ends that were playing looked really good. I mean, honestly,
they got production out of Noah Gray, but the biggest thing is, like Coach said, Tyreek's a unicorn. I mean, to some degree, Travis Kelce is a unicorn in terms of how he plays tight end and in terms of the passing attack. We got production out of Noah Gray and Blake Bell, but it was like when you watch the replays of them getting the ball and getting some yards, it just didn't quite look as smooth and easy as Kelce doing it, And so Noah Gray would have to make 3 jab steps to get open, whereas Kelsey would be open after the first one because he's just so good at getting out of his cuts. But ultimately, like Detroit's a great team. Like I firmly believe they're going to be in the NFC playoffs and could make a deep push with just how that side of the league is. But bigger thing as a Chiefs fan and for the Chiefs perspective, could have been a whole lot worse with the circumstances. No Kelsey, which he got hurt in a Wednesday walkthrough. So imagine Tuesday walkthrough. So imagine how much the game plan had to change in 24 hours because I'm sure with them having young, rookie linebackers, a big part of the plan was let's just let Travis go cook them, or at least try and find out if any of them are good, which I will. Jack Campbell, the other first round pick they had, he's a hell of a linebacker. He is absolutely going to be a stud.
Oh, yeah.
But, so that one component of it, right? Like, obviously, it had to drastically change the plan. So the fact that they were still able to put up points and, kind of typical of early Chiefs fashion, have the second half sort of blunder in production. But, first half looked like they were still on all cylinders without Kelsey being out there. Certainly something to hang your hat on. And at the end of the day, if they're just one Kadarius Toney catch away, they're in field goal range with 2 minutes left. And I'd like to think Mahomes could do what he needs to do to win that and not lose by a point. That's negating the drop pick 6 that he gave Detroit on top of another drop that absolutely killed the drive. So, but at the same time, I don't think that the game plan was for Toney to be a huge focal point in the passing game this week. I think he kind of had to get thrusted into that because Kelsey was out. So I think that's where you saw a lot of the miscommunication, which, ultimately from the Chiefs side, the miscommunication of the line of scrimmage with the receivers that were there, as well as the drops is what killed them. But hats off to Detroit, hell of a team. Still would have been a down to the last possession game with Kelsey and Chris Jones out there, but I think that's a game you would see the Chiefs win.
One thing that Alex is, and Coach will back me on this. I like the fact that not only did they do the fake punt deep in and get the that was great, but what I liked was the fact that when you have that little discombobulation move where I think the tight end is under center and gets the ball.
That's so dumb. Yeah.
Right. But it's been done, and somebody finally was watching film because that blew up for like a 3-yard loss instead of a first down
on 3rd and 1.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they tried to run 3 sweeps, which maybe they saw something in film thinking that was going to be open, but I'm not going to say I know more than Andy Reid or Matt Nagy running an offense, but usually if a jet sweep gets stuffed the first time, I'm not going to go back to that. But that is what it is. I wish that they would just go back to running a QB sneak, but Peace Kingdom's kind of got PTSD from Mahomes being out 2 weeks, 3 years ago. So, but hell, I would have just let Blake Bell freaking do it. That dude was like the poor man's Tim Tebow at Oklahoma. So I would hope he could get 1 yard, but even with all that stuff though, I think it's at least a positive thing for where as potential repeat, that's the mindset of trying to repeat. To lose by 1 point to an up and coming team without your 15.5 sack defensive player and your top offensive weapon, could have been worse. So
Agreed.
I'm not, it sucks to have the opening week, opening night, Super Bowl banner drop and you lose. But it's not a terrible loss in my opinion.
Hey, at least you dropped the banner.
And last year they lost to the Colts and looked like total dog water in that game. So, it's early in the season and it could have been worse. So I think they're right where they need to be, kind of segueing into my other news with it. We got Kelsey back and healthy, at least what it looks like. And Chris Jones is back, so it only took one game for him to come back, and you know they didn't sign an extent. It's weird because it's like he came back but didn't really get anywhere. Because I mean they basically signed like a new 1-year deal that replaces this one and gives him like $7 million in incentives, so he would get like almost $28 million if he hits all that incentives. So I guess
did you find? I was waiting. Is there a no tag clause in that?
No.
So they can tag him. So that's why I'm like, I was like, I don't understand what his agents were doing. Because I mean, unless just the ultimate. I mean,
I think he went to the
middle. Say it has to be like an attorney. So at the end of the day, you got to do what your client wants. And if you tell you can tell your client, hey, this is stupid, but he sees, ooh, I'm about to get $7 million more. I'll do that. Like I just want to play ball. I mean, you don't know how that went, but like. Yeah, I don't know how that all went behind closed doors, but I mean you gotta applaud Veach, I guess, from a GM perspective to stand his ground and not cave and value and work it out. Because I mean, essentially now you got Chris Jones in a contract year, and if he balls out, you can tag and trade him or just tag him. I mean they got all the power again.
And the wild thing is the tag price for D tackles in 2024 is $20 million.
Yeah, so it's like,
which is less than he's making on the incentive deal now.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I mean, but yeah, so he's got he came new deal. It's almost $7 million in incentives. So glad that did not spoil over into deeper into the regular season.
Agreed.
It only took a 1-point loss to get him back in the doors, but. All signs are pointing to both him and Kelsey playing against Jacksonville, which is music to Chiefs fans years after last week. So, but yeah, so I mean, biggest takeaway is we confirmed that Travis Kelsey is very important to this offense.
Yes,
without Mahomes.
Right.
And
newsflash: water is wet.
And the other component is, you got to be pretty impressed with KC's defense for only giving up 14 points against a pretty solid NFL offense. And I mean, if you would have told me that KC was going to not have Chris Jones and only give up 14 points to apparently red hot Jared Goff, who just can't throw interceptions, and a pretty decent passing attack, I would have been like, yeah, you're probably you're huffing that purple dust or whatever it is Cat used to get into.
Wait, where's the drop? Where's the drop?
Day off the weed.
There it is. But
I knew we were missing it. There you go.
Yeah. But I think it's a good thing to see how they were able to while it didn't really equate to sacks in the stat column. I mean, I felt like they were able to get pressure on Goff for a good chunk of the game. I mean, only gave up I think only converted 3 or 5 out of 15 third downs. So I mean, pretty solid production to not have Chris Jones and have to get creative and blitz and bring pressure from other ways. So, I think that's a good building block to what this defense can be once Jones is back. So we're on to Cincinnati.
You are.
All right, Bill. Bill.
You are. So before we jump into.
Don't take my stuff.
We're on Cincinnati.
But before we jump into what's coming up,
he's got the hood on.
We're on to Cincinnati.
You do that pretty damn well. I haven't.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
You do that pretty damn well. I gotta give you credit for that.
I will say, off topic here, but I saw a Belichick interview where he was asked about the importance of a long snapper and why teams keep someone that just long snap. And yeah, he took 12 minutes to answer it. And he's like, all right, thanks, guys. And just leaves. I'm like, that's awesome.
Right.
Oh, yeah, but he went like right down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. He's like, well, that's an interesting question. I think 1943 was the first year long snappers were introduced. What happened?
I
I
love
blacked
Bill,
out.
That is
But,
evil Bill. That is Emperor Palpatine for the
No,
Star
but
Wars
it was
fans.
brilliant. He's like, you asked me a really technical question. I'm going to chew up the entirety of my time answering that one question, and now we're gone by.
Right. Now, I fulfill my obligation. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just here so I don't get fined, boss.
Yeah, Jack's right.
Yeah. So,
at least we didn't lose as bad as the Bengals.
So guys,
No.
segment,
The Giants.
The Giants got slaughtered.
Oh my God, got their teeth kicked in.
Yeah, but if you would have told me that the Bengals were going to put up 3 points, I'd be like,
Burrow have 82 yards passing.
You're on crack. Burrow would give me 1 fantasy point. I'd be like, you're on crack.
Yeah, gave me 3. So I understand.
Right. So we all have stuff to get to in about 30 minutes. So let's try and get all of our kind of look aheads done for week 2.
Do it.
Bacardi Cola, do it.
So we're going to do a bit of a rapid fire, take your questions and comments and go from there. Anyone on Twitter, just before we get right into it, if you're on Twitter watching us, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, the days of Periscope where we can actually see your comments here on the stream are over. So if you would like to have your comments, or you'd like to comment at all on the show, come on over to YouTube or Facebook or any other channel that you can find us, really, for that matter, and leave those comments there for us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are joining us after the fact and can't catch us live, again, thank you for joining us. And if you have some questions, go ahead and leave those down below in the comments. And for all of you joining us now, click the like button, please. It's really going to help us. It allows us to reach other people.
Do it.
In the words of Nike, just do it. Anyways, on to the next week ahead. Alex, let's talk about your matchup here. And sorry, guys, just so that we're all aware, and also for the audience joining us, we did get 3-point stance guests in. We had some editing issues,
so we're on to Cincinnati.
So
we're on to Tennessee.
We're gonna go ahead and actually clip those up after the fact and have those posted probably tomorrow or the next day to get them up so you guys can see them.
If you have a problem getting it up, I don't want to hear about it.
Well, I'm sure there's a pill for that.
Pause.
Big time.
With that in mind,
like this is just for that.
Yeah, with that in mind,
that's something for later.
We're gonna save that one for the very back end of the show. There, there's a joke in there too. Alex, what are your thoughts on your upcoming game?
So going off what I just said, definitely good news that both Chris Jones is back in the building, Kelsey's back in practice, and both are trending towards playing because, for as good as Detroit is or on the rise that they are, Jacksonville is just as good, if not already more established. And they're coming off a pretty solid win against Indy. So they're hot off a divisional win. Trevor Lawrence looks pretty damn good, especially with the added weapon of Calvin Ridley. It's vibes kind of similar to last week. Like it's going to be, which I think a lot of Casey's games are going to be that way, just because they got the hardest schedule and they play a lot of the good offenses. But it's going to come down to who's smartest with the ball and probably who's got the ball in the final 3 to 2 minutes. Similar. My final predictions get pretty, close. I said 28-24. Always a crapshoot, but playoff game last year was 27-20, and the regular season game was 17-7 or 17-10. So, they've been close games once Dougie P and Trevor Lawrence have gotten down in Duval. So I'd expect this to be a similar outing down in Jacksonville. So, a little bit different environment, I guess. But as long as they got Kelsey back, I think that should definitely open up the offense a little bit. And I think you'll see a more productive offense that, won't put 14 points on in the second quarter and then do nothing until the fourth. So, things are looking better, but yeah, definitely still going to be a tough game. Kind of the biggest keys I came up with, the biggest one and probably the most obvious is they just need to go out there and catch the damn football, which I do think we'll see an increase in that because I think Kelsey, if fully healthy, is going to have a nice 15 to 20 targets. I'd like to see a nice redemption arc here for Tony, which I think should help.
Your dog is not a fan of your take. He wants out.
He wants out. Someone,
he wants out. He said, he goes, I want no part of this nonsense. Do not include me in this.
He doesn't know what's going on. There's nothing going on behind these eyes. But yeah, so I mean, Kelsey wasn't there. The combination, like Tony, terrible game. Sky Moore, absolutely non-existent last week, which leaves the rest of your guys with rookie Rashee Rice, MVS, and Justin Watson combined for 7 catches, 122 yards. Rice, at least the bright spot there, got a touchdown. So you would like to see Kelsey back to normal, and then one of these guys kind of carve out a nice Patriot. That's a good one. Maybe, honestly. But see one of those other guys carve it out. But either way, yeah, I think we see a little more production in the passing game this week. And then, second key, especially with playing a good offense, they need to get Pacheco involved early and stick to the run. If it's not working, they kind of abandoned the run against Detroit. Pacheco had 8 carries for 23 yards. And, some of that was just being unable to move the ball as easily as they usually do in first and second down, which I get. But this type of game, I mean, you got to kind of take the same approach teams takes against them and, keep Lawrence off the field and, try to take as much time as you can. So those are kind of the two in terms of offense. Defense, I mean, I think just the biggest thing is mesh. Get Chris Jones out there. If you get him out there and just keep riding high off of the success they had last week, i.e., bring in blitzers, making sure you're pressuring Lawrence, really test Jacksonville's offensive line, which I think is kind of the weak link and kind of unspoken, defect with that unit. And on top of that, we got Juwan Taylor, their best offensive lineman, and I don't think they really did much to replace that. Brandon Scherf, who's one hell of an offensive guard, got hurt last week, and I don't know what. I mean, it looked pretty serious, at least from what they talked about on Red Zone. So don't anticipate he'll be out there. So I mean, you're gonna have a banged up Jacksonville offensive line. Chris Jones, right there, just probably aggressively hyped up, ready to go. On top of a unit that produced a good amount of pressure last week with a lot of unproven commodities. I think that's a good recipe for success, barring they don't try to drastically tweak some approach. But, I mean, I would look at Trevor Lawrence as the same as Goff in terms of their style, quick reads and getting the ball out. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is obviously way more athletic and way more of an improviser than Goff is. But watching both their offenses, they both kind of flow in the passing game the same way. So I think doing whatever you can to disrupt that, create a turnover opportunity is really the biggest key on the defensive side. But yeah, prediction, KC's 3-point favorite. So I kind of think, 28-24, but I do see KC bouncing back this week and, getting back on track, so to speak. Dog doesn't like that. You effer.
I kind of agree generally with that. I do think this is a bounce back game for KC. I think they are probably in that 3-point range. This is always a really competitive game.
It is.
Always.
Always.
I mean, ever since, as you said, as soon as that regime changed, Jacksonville and KC just kind of Jacksonville basically rose to the occasion to kind of step up, and they're becoming pretty darn good team, really.
Yeah.
So again, wanting to make sure we capture all of our takes before we need to move on to where we need to go. Captain, I'll throw over to you real quick and talk about the Rangers in your upcoming game this week.
Yeah, Raiders are coming in a bit banged up. There was about, I think, 7 guys that were on the injured list for the Wednesday practices. They said that the ones that concerned them were Garoppolo had an injury. I can't remember which one, and Tay Adams had a foot injury. Well, that goes without saying that Myers is in concussion protocol. But people were asking about Garoppolo and Adams. And they told the beat writer, "We're good, man. We're just basically taking a Veterans Day off." Obviously, Myers being hurt is really, really something to be aware of, and the fact that Hunter Renfrow got 0 targets last week, 0. So if Myers
I think
goes,
McDaniel just hates wide receivers that aren't named Wes or Julian.
Well, I don't know what it is on that, but it's like if he doesn't step up, or if you don't see a lot of activity with him, then that to me tells me that the Raiders are going to probably shop him by the trade deadline, because he's got a $13 million. I think it's about 13 a year. Yeah. So I think that if they and Jacoby was balling out and wonderful. So if Myers doesn't have even a modicum of getting into those catches that Myers had, if he only has like 2 or 3 and not even really looked at, you can, in my estimation, you're going to see the Raiders try to move him. But that's just me. If Renfrow comes on and has a strong game, then that might not actually occur. But look for the catch rate on Renfrow going forward to see if he might be a trade casualty. Hey, Biggie, bite me, you asshole. Okay. God, I mean, you are the typical Bronco fan that I was talking about earlier. Okay, just God.
Whoa.
Man.
You know that he's doing that. He's gonna get a reaction out of you. That's why he does it. You know that, right?
I know, and he's going to get
take the bait. You take the bait every time
because he's an asshole, and I'll make sure to tell him in. Okay,
right. Reel him on in, Richie.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. But again, the Bills are coming off that loss. They're playing at Orchard Park. They're pissed off that the Jets won that game. And it's not really that the Jets won, is that the Bills gave it away. Three interceptions by Allen, and then a fumble, which set them up for a real tight score. They didn't really play well. So I fully expect, and I've been talking to a Bills fan, I don't know the last time that Allen had back-to-back dud games. And I'm not going to look it up, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen very often. So you have a Bills team that's coming home, and will need to come and just put that loss behind them. The one good thing that the Raiders have is that they got the Bills this week as well as the Steelers next week, coming in off of short weeks. So that's cool that we're getting the Bills on a short week. We're getting the Steelers next week on a short week. That's the only positive that you got with playing guys that just played on Monday the night before. I don't know how the Raiders are going to play. I don't think that they're going to get. I don't think that they're going to be as awful as the 51-3 debacle that they had. But I want to see how the Raiders actually play this week, because the jury's still out. You really need to see about 4 weeks of a team to get a feel for what your team is going to look like. And I saw advertisements the other day said, week 1 lies to you. It lies to you. So if week 1 is full of liars, that's why you need a full month to at least see what your team.
Well, what does everyone say now too? Week 1's basically just the preseason still.
Right.
Well, the one thing to keep in mind with the Bills Raiders game is, at least on paper and even the general play style, the Bills match up quite favorably against the Raiders in terms of where the Bills' strengths are and where the Raiders are not as strong. So, as an example, the kind of secondary within the Raiders is better than it has been in years past, but it is still certainly not a team strength. And Josh Allen has a strong enough arm and is generally accurate enough to throw all over the field.
He's
And
just blind sometimes.
Yeah, and that will be a challenge, I think, for the Raiders secondary. And then on top of that, though, once you get past your a few of the guys on your D line, Allen is bigger than most of your linebackers, if not all of them.
Yeah.
And so with those rushing plays, those design rushing plays, I think he can also cause some pretty legit damage and really kill you, in my opinion. And the Bills' offensive line is just way better than the Broncos. So you're just not going to get the same defensive line pressure that you got on the Broncos at all, in my opinion. So I think there's a few things there that I think will be very interesting to see. And the Bills are also very, very well coached. Like a cohesive coaching unit. Like they actually know what they're doing. Whereas the Broncos are year one coaches across the board.
Actually, I think that most of the game is going to come down to the Raiders' offensive line against the Bills' defensive line. That's where the real matchup is going to be. If the Raiders' offensive line has a better than average game like they did, they allowed 0 sacks last week. Okay. Yeah. If they do something similar to leave Jimmy Garoppolo basically clean and free back there, Garoppolo can hit those guys in the intermediate routes, because he's not a strong arm guy, but his passes get caught for a bunch of yak. Okay, so if he plays his game,
and that's probably the weakest link too of Buffalo's, or the middle of their defense. I mean, the safeties are pretty good, obviously, but they lost Edmonds to Chicago, and so
right.
I mean, Milano's probably the only good linebacker they have, and I mean he's more of a edge presence.
He's an edge / rushing guy, and he'll get the quarterback sacks, and he's decent in run protection, but he's not a guy that you want to have out there in pass pro. So, I mean, I think that it's really just going to come down to Raiders, mostly Raiders O-line against Bills D-line, the Raiders receivers against their corners, and obviously Diggs against whoever. Those are the big three that you're going to have. Diggs against whoever's at corner, and I will say that Jacorian Bennett played very well last week. He actually played better than Peters. Peters looked all of 40. I know he's not 40 years old, but he looked slow. He didn't look up to himself. The rookie, Bennett, played rather well. And actually, the pass interference, Jacorian Bennett, sub-zero.
Coach sleeper.
Sub-zero.
Who? What are you, an owl?
Yeah. He played well. And the pass interference call against him was BS. Talk about a BS call. Is that he was tripping down and he tripped into the guy's legs, and they call it a pass interference call. But he's a rookie. He didn't get in his position. Yeah, that's a flag. But if you look at that play, you can see he never touched him, other than he tripped, and when he tripped down, he went into the legs. So
he was actually called for PI before that part of the play. The pass interference was actually back 4 or 5 yards from where the trip was, where he jammed the arms and the body of the receiver before he was able to break up on the route because he was about to get beat.
Okay. Like I said, I'll give it that. I was looking at the end product.
So the end, I agree, really ought not have been a pass interference. But yeah, if you actually look slightly earlier in the route, they were 5 or 6 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he realized that he was not positioned well. And so what he did was he kind of shoved his body into the receiver and actually kind of like not grab, but kind of like shoved and pushed, which is contact past 5 yards, and grabbed a little bit onto his jersey as the guy was running downfield. Not a lot, but enough to a ref to see it. That's where the PI was. And then after, when he was trying to make up at the end, then he stumbled and bumbled and tripped up the dude's legs, and then that's kind of where they ended up actually calling it. But the flag actually dropped before the end result.
All right. Like I said, I was looking at the obvious ways. Again, when you're at a sports bar and you're not watching it on your TV like you had for the last several, like mostly I'm watching the field anyway, because I go to most of the games.
Yeah. So
other than that, he played very well. So if he continues to play well, I have no problem having him as one of my starting cornerbacks. Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly blast through the Broncos stuff just because we're running up on time here to get everyone kind of where they need to go. The Broncos, in my opinion, are going to be in a bit of trouble, to say the least. And I think it's for one specific reason, and that is the Commanders' defensive line. That is star-studded, to say the least. Those guys,
a lot of first-round picks.
Yeah, it's basically a who's who of good dudes on the interior line.
Alabama and Ohio State players.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. There you go.
And it's no secret in the offseason, Coach. I think you and I were quite high on the same guy from the Commanders who ended up getting that extension.
Yes, sir.
Daron Payne.
Daron
Payne. He is a legit player. Like
he's him.
He's not just good. He's great. and you want a guy like that. You also have Sweat. Chase Young has had some issues, but he has had a few games where he showed up here and there. So,
Allen or Jonathan Allen.
Jonathan Allen, yep.
Jonathan Allen is another one who's again showed out.
Bama.
But again, you have not just one. So, for example, the Raiders as an example, you got an all-world player in Crosby. The dude is top tier. But what you got on the Commanders is a bunch of guys that are just a little bit below him, but not by much. But you have like four of them. So the problem is that like you might not have a Max Crosby, but you got like a line that you're looking up that are like a bunch of like real legit dudes, and they're going to kill your offensive line.
It's a rough order, it's a rough task.
Yeah.
Rough task.
So anyway. My concern is the matchup on the D-line and O-line. And what I saw from our offensive line in both preseason against the Raiders was they were not up to par. And we saw a bunch of holding and stuff. And my concern is that McDaniels is going to submit that film to say, look at what Powers did and look at what some of the other guys did on the Broncos offensive line. And then, of course, Ron Rivera, he's no slouch. He knows what he's doing. He will call that out as well. And the Broncos line will not get away with Garrett Bowles will not get away with the holding that he got away with in week 1. Right? He just won't. And neither will Powers, and neither will Cushenberry, and neither will whoever our right tackle is, because no one can stay healthy. And so really the only offensive lineman who's really, shown any promise, in my opinion, is Miners. He's been able to really show improvement, and he is one heck of a run blocker. And he's got the technique to kind of keep the guy in front of him, readjust. And I've been very, very impressed, considering, he did not come from one of those big time schools, but he is, his play is shown big time regardless. But then the other flip side of that is, do we have enough defensive pressure? And was the Raiders game an anomaly? Can we actually get pressure on the quarterback, or is our pass rush kind of a paper tiger? Is it just like, they can't punch the way out of a wet paper bag and we're done? So we need to kind of see where that lands. I'm hoping that the Raiders, I hope and don't hope at the same time, but you hope that the Raiders just have a really good offensive line and just made our pass rush and just kind of, negated it completely, right? But I'm fearing that our pass rush has kind of been overstated, and as a result, we're going to see a less than product on the field this year, which is of grave concern because we really need that as a saving grace to help the back part of our defense, to give Mathis the time to readjust, to not get kind of beat outright like we saw with the Raiders, so that he can then put himself in a position to block passes. So, and then my last issue and thing that I want to see in this particular game, because I think we need to, is Josie Jewell needs to find the bench.
Josie Jewell. Yeah.
We need Drew Sanders out there. You need a guy that has versatility to cover the middle of the field, go sideline to sideline, and give you that additional versatility. He showed as a rookie in preseason that he can handle it. The game is not too big for him. He simply just needs to be thrown into the fire and show what he can or cannot do. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. That's my opinion.
I agree.
So,
I'm kind of shocked that being the Walmart family owns them, big Arkansas people, they didn't just give them $500 million already. They love their Razorbacks, dude.
Yeah. But anyways, those are kind of my three pieces for the Broncos game. Believe it or not, again, I'm going to go on record before I pass the torch over to you, Coach. I have the Broncos losing this game.
Really?
So I have the Broncos losing somewhere between 3 and 7 points. And I think it's going to ultimately come down to the fact that Wilson does not do well throwing under pressure, and I think he's going to get sacked a bunch. And I think those as combinations will put us in a position. It's just that's not good, and I think it's just not like it will. It's not
put you in a position for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Damn.
So, anyways, Coach, I'm going to throw over to you and give us your rundown on the Chargers, and then we got to go.
Yeah, I'm very and I'll try to be brief. I'm very concerned about this game based upon how well coached the Titans are traditionally. Their defense to me is tougher, especially up front, than the Dolphins are. I would argue that the Dolphins may have a better overall edge rush, but the interior with Simmons and Arden Key and those boys, they definitely are going to give our O-line some go.
Simmons is a beast.
Yeah, so I think running the ball won't be as fluid. I think Kellen Moore schemes up a good game, but I don't think the running game is going to be as fluid. But although I did praise the Titans secondary in the preseason, they definitely weren't up to the task this past week. So and Caleb Farley's out, I believe, with a hamstring. So they missing a guy. So hopefully we can attack the secondary and get the ball out and be able to when the run game is not ultimately there in large order, in large space like it was in Dolphins game, we can adjust to that. Offensively, ironically and surprisingly, I'm not too concerned. At the moment, what they're going to do and not do, I think they'll put up a decent amount of points. It's the damn defense. I really don't know. It's a dice roll. It's a crapshoot. Just when I think I got to figure it out and figure they're going to, just keep it basic, keep it simple, and just use your talent. Staley does something totally different. Throws me a curveball.
He says, "Hold my beer."
Exactly. Definitely throws me a curveball. So I don't know what they're going to do against them, but I'm sure and quite honestly know that they're going to focus on the run. I think that's going to be the primary goal. They're going to focus on getting Derrick Henry downhill, and we did pretty well against them last season. Now, again, I said that about the Dolphins game, and then they don't bring the same game plan to the party this game. It's going to be another long week.
I agree with DZ. See, I think you got to make it a shootout between Herbert and Tannehill because Tannehill is washed.
Which bothers me because you should, based upon personnel, it shouldn't be a shootout. Like with the talent you got on defense and talent you got on offense, we should win the game.
Well, I guess
I
say shootout to mean you got to make it to where Tennessee has to pass to be in the game.
Correct. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you can get them out of them being able to run at will, I agree with that.
It was a close game, but it came down to Tannehill having to complete a ball. He couldn't.
He couldn't, right.
Do you think that the Chargers have the same run defense as the Saints do? Because I don't.
Who said that? Who said?
No, but they made the Titans were forced into a position on their opponent's defensive side. Like
Right.
The point is that
but that was also,
last-
in part with Derek Carr and the Saints offense was moving the ball on them well. I think it's more about their defense is bad enough that if you can get points up early, they can't just give the ball to Derrick Henry for 7 minutes.
Right.
Sure.
Is what I mean. I'm not saying that, they're better. I think they probably do have a better unit collectively than the Saints defense, but they're definitely
schematically
not
the Saints
run.
defense is solid. Let's not sleep on that fact. And based on the numbers, no, we don't have a better defense than the Saints do. So again, you're gonna have to be sound and you have to be clear in what you're doing up front and stop the run early, because again, if he's allowed to get downhill, they're allowed to play action pass and do things that Tannehill is actually good at, then it's gonna be a long day for our defense yet again. And I just don't understand or don't know exactly what particular scheme or game playing style is going to have, but it better be better than last week's. If not, you're going to see a lot of points given up by the Titans because there's not going to be a lot of resistance. And then we got to go get into a shootout with them. And then again, we're playing in Tennessee. It's a away game. We're actually favored by 3, which I'm not sure who's calling that one. But based upon last week, so I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not waving the flag that the Titans offense is good, but we make mediocre guys look good right now on defense. So you have to look at it and be honest about it and say that if we get stops, we're fine. If we can manage to make them punt more than once. The Dolphins only punted one time in the entire game last week. If we make them punt more than once, we're in good shape. If we don't, then it's going to be a long day.
I think there has to be the question asked, given what you saw last week, which is, what would it take for an in-season firing of the head coach?
An act of God.
Okay.
I mean, they just don't do that. The Spanish fans just don't do that.
No, I know. No, that's why I asked, because
I
mean, so you say that, but at the same time, I think you and I are in 100% lockstep in your head coach's bread and butter is defense. That's his thing.
He's completely over his skis.
And he is not like, your defense is not the strength of your team.
I mean, just look at. Let's give you a quick example before we get out of here. The moment an offensive-minded person got to a team, traditionally the offense automatically got snapped up right away. When Mike McDaniel got to the Dolphins, the offense was booming. The moment that he got there,
look how much better Tua looked.
Fangio got to the Dolphins, the defense got astronomically better. When Flores was in Miami, the defense was good day one. Again, and it didn't matter what the personnel was. Schematically, the game was different on that side of the ball. Right? Now, we've been 3 years in, and we've been bottom 5 in defense every single year.
Well, and like you said, the reason why he's going to keep his job is because Spanos is so damn cheap. He doesn't want to have a coach he's paying and then pay another
Hence why we didn't get Brian Daboll, because Brian Daboll wanted more money than Brandon Staley did, and they chose Brandon Staley because of the price tag.
Yeah, it's many Spanos, right?
Two of them, the main ones that run it.
Yeah, and like I said, but they don't want to pay, and that's the reason why they're out of San Diego. That's the reason why they are they're the subtenants in Los Angeles because of money. They're cheap bastards. And it's not me saying this. These are Charger fans that I know that have said this to me for years.
Listen, you don't have to tell me. I mean, I mean, again, the last 4 to 5 years of them spending money has been a revelation for me, because traditionally they have never wanted to do it. Now, I get it. LA is a different market. You're getting different money. It's a different type of money generated in LA than it is San Diego. So I get the move. I talk about this on one of my podcasts.
Revenue share is what it was all about.
Yeah, the revenue is different in LA. So I get the move, and I understand it was completely necessary to have a Justin Herbert and the Joey Bosa and the Khalil Mack and the Derwin James on your team. That type of thing not happening in San Diego. You're not being able to retain those players because the money's not coming in properly. But it is coming in through in from an LA perspective. They even building a new training facility, spending money there. So they're spending money. But yet again, whenever they can cheap out, to your point, they will do it. So that's the problem I have. And again, they won't do it in season because they just don't. They've never traditionally done it. In the last 20, 30 years I've been, on this earth that I've been watching the Chargers, they haven't fired a coach mid-season that I can recall.
No, they haven't. But I asked it nonetheless because
Yeah.
It's
I've been
first time for everything. There's a first time for everything.
If we're 0-8 and it's basically on the defense alone, then you might have to look at it.
Yeah.
Especially with Kellen Moore being a ready-made head coach in the waiting, because you got to look like this. At some point, it's going to come to a head. But Kellen Moore is going to be up for a head coach job at some point. So do you want to lose him? You know, with Justin Herbert being your quarterback for the future, or do you want to keep Brandon Staley? You know what my choice is. You know what my choice is.
Honestly,
even I'm a defensive guy. I would choose Kellen Moore all day, every day as a businessman.
I would almost say if it's like you're 0-5 or something crap, like
if we're giving up 35 points a game,
and give Kellen Moore the half of the year to audition, so to speak. You know, see how he changes it and go from there. But I mean, Staley, it doesn't ever seem to progress. It's all
never.
There's some component that's always like the same.
It's always off.
Chargers.
It's always off.
Like
and I
they're
feel
always in games. They just can't get over the hump.
And I feel like he's been insulated in the places he's been to the point where he's had people around him to kind of cover up for his inadequacies. If you think about it. Because remember, when he was a position coach, he had Fangio, you know, when he was with Denver, you know, and he had the coordinator I'm trying to remember who the coordinator was in Chicago. Can't remember off the top of my head. But he had McVay in LA with the Rams. So I think that him being isolated, being on his own, we're finally getting to see the true nature of his coaching ability, and it's not good right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, guys, we covered all the ground in terms of both week 1 and what's to come in week 2. I think there's going to be some, again, really interesting matchups. And what's more important in the week 2 piece, guys, is each of our teams will either confirm or rebut the weaknesses with the opponents that we have coming up. Because I feel for whatever reason, the scheduling gods, if you will, of the NFL have stacked 2 similar teams, or at least a secondary team that has showcased some of our weaknesses on each of our teams to see if they are legit or perhaps overblown. And this is going to be really a telling week for all of our teams.
I agree with that.
It really will.
I really agree with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, for all of you who have joined us this week, I would like to thank you very much for doing so. Leave those comments down below. Click those likes and thumbs up. Let's go ahead and share this video out to as many people as we can. We want as many AFC West fans in here, as well as our opponents in here. I'd like to start getting some questions for some of these other guys who are playing against, and get some of those things. And guys, until next week, where the West Side is the best side, we'll see you. Peace.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.